All right, and thank you, everybody. This is Adobe Developers Live, Content and Commerce. Today's current session is going to be building low code and event driven Adobe Commerce integrations with applications running on AWS. We've got Surya Lamek and Kanika Gera, and I'd like to hand it over to you guys.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. I'm Surya Lamek, and as Russell mentioned, with me is Kanika. I'm going to be kicking this off. And as an introduction, I'm a product marketing manager for Adobe Commerce with a focus on our platform and extensibility. So as I mentioned, I'm going to start this off with an overview of Adobe Commerce and our extensibility capabilities. And once I'm done with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kanika, who will go over an introduction to IO events for Adobe Commerce and the integration of Amazon Event Bridge with Adobe IO events. Following that, we also have a demo, and then time permitting, we'll have a Q&A session. So without any delay, let's get started. So let's start with a quick recap of extensibility for Adobe Commerce. Now, if you've been with us with Commerce for some time, you may already know this, but at the start of this year, we completely reimagined how developers work with Adobe Commerce to integrate and extend our solution with third-party or custom applications. So we kicked off with introducing API Mesh, which is our API orchestration layer. And what that does is it helps you stitch together Commerce APIs with APIs from third-party systems and be able to extend, secure, distribute those APIs as you need. We also introduced Adobe Developer App Builder for Commerce. And that is our serverless runtime and extensibility platform that allows you to extend native capabilities within Adobe Commerce. The third thing we introduced were event-driven integrations, and that'll actually be the focus of today's session. But we introduced event-driven integrations back in January. That included over 700 commerce events covering things like our product catalog, customer accounts, order status, and pretty much anything that happens within the system, and being able to build near real-time integrations or reactive applications using those events. Mid-year, we introduced the Admin UI SDK. And what that does is it allows you to build single-page apps within Adobe Developer App Builder using all of the UI components that we provide, being able to run them in those in the App Builder serverless environment, but then inject them into the Commerce UI. And if you were on just before the session with Naomi, you may have seen a demo of that and how to build those apps. But that allows you to extend our admin UI without actually customizing any of the code. And then just about a month ago, we released webhooks, which allows you to build real-time or synchronous integrations with Adobe Commerce. So things where you need a response immediately. For example, as you're checking out, maybe you need to call a third-party system to validate pricing, inventory availability, or validate address, or get shipping or tax calculations, etc. You can extend our processes in real time and inject back the response from those third-party systems into that process as you go through. Now, I'd like to point out that all of these extensibility capabilities are leveraged without actually customizing anything on Adobe Commerce. And that means that you get a better developer experience. It's easier and cheaper to maintain these and manage your platform over time because you're not customizing core commerce application. Now, at the heart of our extensibility or powering our extensibility is Adobe Developer App Builder for Commerce. And that includes all the capabilities I talked about, which is it provides you with the tools and the features to integrate commerce with third-party services, replace services, upgrade services without having to refactor maybe your storefront applications or consuming applications or even downstream applications or other upstream application, I guess, like Adobe Commerce. You can extend our native capabilities and you can build and run those apps within the App Builder environment, which is secure, cloud native, scalable, completely serverless, which means you don't have to manage the provisioning of any of the resources you need, like runtime resources, storage, CDN, and so on. And if you're working with Commerce, this is extremely important to you. It is PCI compliant as well. So essentially, we're giving you a unified platform where whether you're working with our API, webhooks, events, UI, you have the same set of developer tools, the same developer experience. You're able to troubleshoot and monitor these things much more simply because you're not relying on a number of different services. And this works not just with Adobe Commerce, but with other Adobe solutions as well. So when we talk about our eventing, our API orchestration, etc., you could be, of course, in the context of this session, we're going to talk about Adobe Commerce, but it works seamlessly across other DX solutions and also some of our creative and document cloud solutions. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Kanika to walk us through IO events and the Amazon integration.
Thank you so much, Surya. Okay. Surya gave us an overview on the Commons Extensibility Framework. I'm going to quickly talk about what Adobe IO events are. So, with the changing business trends, if you see more and more are actually requiring more digital business strategy, which enables them direct communication between things. And this is actually an opportunity where digital businesses can actually respond to real world events, which could be either to innovate, create experiences, and also be very, very efficient. And that is where Adobe IO events comes in. So Adobe IO events embraces event-driven architecture, which enables you to streamline workflows, improve your marketing performances, and allowing developers to actually respond to the user behavior. It could be either you choose how to respond programmatically, or you can configure something to have more targeted, effective, and more personalized experiences. So these were the key features on what IO Events offers. That's with Adobe IO Events, you can actually have access to all the product events, Adobe product events. And so, yeah, thank you so much for sharing. For the next slide, please. Thank you. So, events architecture follows a publisher subscriber model, which generally and every event-driven architecture does. Here, if you look at the diagram, the publisher subscriber model allows messages to actually be broadcasted in different parts of the system. And that all happens asynchronously. So PubSub basically is publishers for publishing these messages, whereas subscribers subscribing to the messages that have been published by the publisher. And this model or this eventing system actually gives instant event notification for distributed applications. And that is where we start reaping in the benefit. Then, if you see, we talked about a PubSub model that I'm giving you a quick overview on how the subscribers can actually do a consumption. So iOvents is basically coordinating the delivery of all the events from producer to consumer, where producers are all the Adobe product events and consumers are all our Adobe developers. And this consumption mechanism actually would allow all our consumers to respond back immediately. And a producer would not even know whether the consumer is listening. So consumers, if you see, would always be decoupled from each other and could be our product services, our partners, ISV developers, and they can consume by three mechanisms. One is webhook, which is a very simple native mechanism of subscribing to events. Second is journaling. Third is app builder. So one is a push mechanism, one is a pull mechanism, and third is building custom native applications when subscribing to those events. And with app builder, we also actually enable custom events. So people can actually go and develop their own application, and that application can be emitting events, and that events can be actually subscribed and produced to. So moving towards Event Bridge and iOvents integration. Now, as we're continuing to add features to simplify integrations, we have introduced this recent capability of delivering IO events to Amazon Event Bridge. So this is a brand new partnership. This is still in pre-release and going to be announced at AWS reInvent. So this feature, customers can actually, or developers can actually easily send events originating in IO events, which is Adobe, forward them to Amazon Event Bridge. And then as a result, they can also forward it to Amazon services like Kinesis, SQS, SNS, or any other Amazon services and other SaaS providers, which is MongoDB, New Relic, and so on and so forth. There are several Amazon SaaS providers. Now, just to let you know and provide you a little bit more context, as Adobe IO Events is the eventing platform for Adobe App. EventBridge is a similar eventing platform for AWS. And with these two platforms coming together in an integration, it's going to unlock a world where ideally, when somebody would have to forward custom Adobe events to AWS, they would have to write a custom code. They would have to manage sharing some sensitive credentials, which they have maintained on the webhooks. And also, they'll have to worry a lot about all the security aspects. So we are covering it all here with this event integration, with both of these giants coming together, providing you a secure and reliable way for consuming events directly from AWS accounts, where I'll show you in the demo further. You will not have to share any credentials. All you'll have to do is just enter your account ID. And this will enable you to route your events to any Amazon services, as well all the SaaS providers that are Amazon partners. Moving towards um, more centered towards commerce. So if you look at this, earlier we talked about three consumption mechanisms: App Builder, Webhook, and Journal. Um, Introducing Event Bridge integration is going to enable another form of consumption mechanism, which is forwarding the events through Event Bridge. Now, the events originating from commerce, which could be order events, product events, and customer events, can now be forwarded to Event Bridge, from where you see they can be routed to various pre-integrated services. So with Magento and Amazon Event Bridge, customers can automate. There are many, many use cases, and customers can automate inventory management either by setting up triggers when a product is purchased, returned, or restocked. And what we're going to talk further is I'm just going to provide you another example. So generally, as I said, there are a lot of commerce segments or use cases where we can actually automate this entire integration. However, a key benefit for AWS Bridge actually lies in the order fulfillment space. So, for example, if you say you would want to build a functionality that would notify a country specific warehouse of orders, so that you can, when you're doing the shipment, you can actually just ship closer to the customer's location. And with Event Bridge integration, where commerce customers can actually subscribe to order created messages and then route the events to the country specific SQs. And depending on when the shipping order address is specified in the order, it can be routed accordingly. And this is just one example. Um, Thank you, Surya, for pulling up another one, which is sending an order to an ERP system. This is very similar to what I talked about. We have a shopper's browser where what we're doing is we aren't going to be going through shopper successfully completing a checkout for a particular order. Commerce is creating that order, and we're going to announce that event within the app builder. As soon as the app is going to be subscribing to that action, it receives the order data and it could send it to AWS, which could be your ERP over here. Looking at the benefits over here, if you see, we have already pre-wired everything. So no custom codes. There is a direct integration between events, ERP, CRM, and also, as Surya said, with App Builder, we are providing you a complete entire framework to manage the entire extensibility of your system. There is less customization in the core application. So you can easily make your upgrades and no custom PHP commerce extensions necessary. This actually helps maintaining the applications better and managing your entire extensibility with lesser code and lesser credential management. Now moving towards, I will quickly show you a demo, which is going to show you what a console for EventBridge, a console for the developer console, which is where you can subscribe to Adobe I events. And then also it can actually navigate you through how we can create an integration between Adobe I events and EventBridge. So give me just 1 second to quickly share my screen, and hopefully so you are still on standby, because there no successful event without a technical bridge. So I'm hoping this will work. Okay. Can I see my screen?
No, not yet. Surya, can you just go ahead and share again?
Uh-huh. Thank you all. Sorry for this.
Ravi, this is for the demo, right? So,
Yeah, this is the demo.
sorry.
No worries.
Okay, so while Surya is pulling this up, we're gonna start with the Event Bridge console, which is the console that manages all the events for the Amazon specific partners. So thank you so much. You can just play this without the audio. This is where
And I'm excited to demo the integration.
So, Surya, feel free to stop the audio and just play this. Okay, thank you. The screen you look at is the Amazon console. This is the console I've been talking about. If you see, this event bridge this is an event bridge console where Amazon customers can actually manage their events, and the partners can manage the partner or SaaS integrations. Um, if you see, we are now in the developer console where Adobe events are listed out. We are creating an integration where we choose commerce events and a commerce instance. This is basically going to be subscribing to all the events that are available and creating this event-driven registration. Now, if you see in the developer console, Adobe Developer Console, you would see Amazon Event Bridge, which is the new consumption mechanism. And instead of providing any credentials or anything, all we are doing is copying the account ID and just putting in the name of the particular location. And with this, we have a successful event registration. But if you see over here, the status is still pending. So the status for this integration is not complete. And to complete this integration, we'll have to go to the Amazon Event Console. We are back in the event sources. Now we created a registration in Adobe. This is listed out as an event source. We just want to link it with the event bus. And as soon as we link it, the status becomes active. Now, what we're doing is we are configuring a particular rule, which we've already pre-created. This is going to be specifically a pattern matching, which is just going to tell the events to be routed to the webhook. That's all we're doing. This is all pre-configured, and we'll also have this available in our reference source documentation for you to try out. Now, as we do this, we just select a target. Right now, if you see, we can choose any specific Amazon service to forward these events to, these events that we are receiving. We just chose an API destination, and we already have a webhook site that is ready. So this is pre-configured. We're just going to add this. And as soon as we add this, the target is selected, the rule is done. And the event integration over here is going to change to active after refreshing. So if you look at this, now you will see the integration is activated, which means the event that were configured and forwarded to AWS is now going to be working with this commerce events that are going to be forwarded. Now, just to test it out, what we're going to see is we already have a custom code over here, where we are sending an event. We triggered that, and we see in the payload, the event is actually getting triggered. So if you look at the payload, you would see the event that was forwarded from commerce is actually showing up here. Um, this is just a quick overview on a very high level how this integration flow works. So if you see, we started from Adobe Developer Console, where Adobe product events is surfaced. Right now, we chose commerce events, but you can choose any kind of events. And then all we are doing is we're going to move on high level and set that integration in the AWS console for making sure that particular registration which we choose is going to be giving you options which AWS service you would want to forward it to. Besides that, as I mentioned before, you can also forward it to any other SaaS partner. And as soon as we configure and set that rule up, we come back with Adobe Console to see that the integration is active. As soon as the registration is active, all we're doing is just testing it out with a webhook URL. For demo purposes, we did use a custom webhook, but it could either be a custom webhook or a runtime action, Adobe IO runtime action, or any of your webhook providers. So that's on the demo. Moving back to the slides. So we are running a VIP program. This, as I said, is a feature that's going to be announced soon. So it's still in a pre-release form. And if you would love to try this, please feel free to scan this barcode. I believe this is going to be shared after the session as well. But you can fill up this form and we'll reach out to you. So with the VIP program, what we're going to have some partners and customers we're going to be working with. That's all of you. And we're going to help you set up integration step by step. So you'll have dedicated support, both from Commerce and Adobe IO and AWS, all coming together to help you with your specific use cases. And feel free to let us know. There is a column for problems in this form. If there's anything else you would want to let us know, feel free to enter it and we'll reach out to you with this specific program. And that's all for today from my end. I would love to know if there are specific questions or anything that is what you would like to me to answer. And we do have some resource which talks about app builder documentation, how you can create an app builder app. Also specifically about events, Adobe IO events, which events we have available, which you can subscribe to, and commerce-driven event, which is commerce events and event-driven applications you can build. Besides that, last link is again the link to our form, the pre-release form. So please sign up. Let us know if you have any interesting use cases. We will be more than happy to help you.
That's great.
Thank you. Let me know if there are any questions.
Yep. I'm just checking right now to see if any were posted. It doesn't appear so, or at least they were already answered by our moderators. But yeah, this has been great. You took something that seems fairly complicated and made it seem pretty easy. So this is fantastic. I love it. This integration with AWS is going to be game changing, I imagine, for a lot of our customers.
I bet. Thank you.
So yeah, I think for this, as long as no more questions come at the last second. It looks like we do have one that came in just at the last minute, of course. So how does a customer get a partner AWS account or IO events? Do we have any insight on that side of things, or should they just reach out to their account manager?
Yes. So for getting details on your account number, you can just reach out to your specific Amazon account manager and they will be able to provide your AWS account. Otherwise, if you have access to your AWS console, all you need to do is if you log in there and look at your profile, it does give your account ID. In terms of integration, all you have to do is add that account ID, which as I was showing in the demo, and we'll take care of the rest. So you don't have to worry about the credentials,
Um,
etc. What's your account?
Kanika, I think maybe the question is, do they need to get their own AWS account, or are we providing them with an account through iOS?
Okay. Yes, you will need your own AWS account.
Perfect.
As far as your IO events account goes, if you're a commerce customer on cloud, you can reach out. If you don't already have App Builder and with it IO events, of course, we just reach out to your CSM account manager and they can get you provisioned with it. But the AWS account is something that you need to sign up with AWS directly for. But we do support that integration.
That's great.
Mhm.
Another one that trickled in, is there any limitations that we're aware of on the data being sent out to EventBridge?
So I can take that one and feel free to chime in. So there is no limitation as in terms of the amount events that are going to be forwarded. I'm not sure if you're asking in terms of the payload, etc. But with payloads, we stick with a specific event type for custom for all our Adobe I events. And with that, it is more like we adhere to the CNCF standards. So those any limitations that are within the CNCF eventing standards that would apply, but there's no limitation on the data as such. So you can forward whatever kind of event you would like.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, it looks like we've trickled through the rest of them. I'd like to thank you guys once again and just remind everybody that the next session is going to be in about, a little bit longer, about 30 minutes or so. It's going to be from desperate APIs to unified experiences using the API mesh. So we're just continuing this theme and getting a little bit deeper. Once again, thank you, Surya. Thank you, Kaneka. You guys did a great job. And I will go ahead and start our break and everybody have a good day.